Greetings and welcome to the Fighting Dirty Podcast Unplugged, and we're recording this episode from Gen Con 2018. This episode is going to be very raw, very dirty. To ensure the nastiness of this episode, I had to bring in some of the dirtiest players in the game. Let's go around the table and introduce ourselves, maybe tell us what type of games you're interested in. I'll start. My name is Matthew Wright, host of the Fighting Dirty Podcast, and I enjoy playing tabletop games and video games.
My name's Gary Baxter, same.
Roger Doss. I play a lot of different things, tabletop games, a lot of miniatures games, and apparently Magic now, I guess, since I haven't played it in 20 years.
John German, and I play tabletop RPGs, miniatures games, some board games, and I've never touched Magic in my life.
And this is Borch. I'm here to tell you that, I love Magic, and it's a great day out here, and we're just enjoying Gen Con to the fullest.
Well, welcome to the show, gentlemen, so let's get right down to it. I'd like to hear about a game or an event that you've participated in. Gary, why don't you lead us off?
I will lead us off, and guess what? Arkham Horror 3rd Edition is where we're starting.
It's lit.
It is lit. So, as you guys know, that I love the Arkham series. I love Eldritch Horror. I love Arkham Horror LCG. I love Arkham Horror. I love everything Fantasy Flight puts out with Arkham Horror on it. It got announced while we were out partying Wednesday night. We were out partaking in the Sun King Fest, drinking some beer. And our good buddy Roger here messaged me. He goes, guys, Arkham Horror 3rd Edition. And I just started going crazy. I was like, I called it. But that was like last year, wasn't it? Yeah. I was really drunk.
No, what was great about it was you're going crazy on one line of text from me, and Matt is hating on the other. He's like, what?
Yeah, Matt's the worst. So anyways, we got in there Thursday. We got in late because we went to shut up and sit down. We caught the tail end of that because we got stuck in the longest will call line. So anyways, we got in there a little bit late, and we walked right up to the table, and 3 of the people stood up and goes, hey, you want to play? So we sat down immediately. Started playing it. The first thing you notice is the new board is modular, which I love, which means that they can manipulate everything. They can change the scenarios up if they're bad or don't play well. You can change everything. Everything else is very, very close to how Eldritch plays. They even use the same symbols from Eldritch. They use a lot of the same investigators, obviously. They reuse a lot of art. I'm hoping, I don't know if you noticed it. Well, you did. You pointed it out. The components are very, very chintzy. There's not a whole lot of heft to them. So if they come like that, that's a goddamn shame, and that game's not going to be worth the $65 that they're putting on it. It's supposed to come out in the fourth quarter, but I really like the gameplay. It plays a lot faster. It's a lot less fiddly than Arkham. And so that's all I've ever wanted was a clean-up Arkham game. So I'm excited for that.
So Gary, let me ask you a question real quick, Gary. So you have the Arkham board game. What about the Arkham Horror card game, the living card game? Has that game influenced what they're doing with 3rd edition?
It has, because during the Mythos phase, you now pull out tokens from the bag, which then sets off different effects. So you remember how in Mythos from Eldritch, you pull out a card and you read the icons on the bottom? Yeah. Well, from this, you pull out, there's 12 tokens in there normally. You pull the token out and you do them one at a time, so it could be a reckoning effect. So you do the reckoning effect, the cultists will have reckoning effects, some of the other cards will have them, and then you'll do something else like it'll have a gate surge, all things like that. And whenever you pull the tokens out, you set them to the side. You don't reuse them until all tokens have been pulled out. So you kind of get a gist of what's going to happen. But then it resets after you've used all of them. So it does take that mechanic from the LCG. So I actually like that. It was really neat. I liked that a lot.
And the version we played may have been the demo version, but the tokens and stuff, they were very, very cheap quality.
I think they'll be better.
That's all we're saying. It's not coming out until fourth quarter, so we don't know, but the version we played had poor components, so I'm just hoping that. But the gameplay was amazing. They cleaned up so many things. We're very excited for 3rd edition Arkham Horror.
I'm not done. They also added these news headlines, so it's like, remember the rumors from Eldritch?
Yeah.
The headlines read great. They read like actual 1920 headlines. It's like, extra. And so the guy demoing it was fantastic. He was reading it like that. It was so cool. I love so much about this game, and that's all I wanted to add was
It was one of the best demos I've ever had at playing any game, because that guy allowed us to play so much of the game, and then he was kind of in character, encouraging that. It was so good.
It's really, really neat. I think you're going to love it. So we'll go ahead and we'll move on to Roger. Roger, what have you saw or played at Gen Con that you want to talk about?
I've got a chance to play a few things, but like I said at the top, I really enjoy miniatures games, probably more than I should with the how much it costs. But I come to Gen Con and kind of demo games and pick up some new miniatures games. And one I've had my eye on for a while that I got to play was called Rumble Slam. So I've loved professional wrestling since I was a little kid, and I think there's people in the room who share that. But it's a professional wrestling / fantasy miniatures game where you have a number of like orcs and undead or whatever your team is made up of, and you're in a wrestling ring and you're doing kind of like a battle royale kind of thing where you're throwing people over the top rope to be the last man standing from your team, and it's a lot of fun. The guy who ran the demo was lots and lots of fun. He knew wrestling, so we were kind of playing the game and talking. It just brings out that, do you remember that one time the Big Show, slammed and the ring fell apart, and all that kind of stuff. So that was really cool. And they had the game was crazy because it comes with one of those mouse pad mats, which is high quality. Right. It has 10 miniatures. You really only need 6 to play the game, so you get some options. Trade paperback, rules, none of that chintzy stuff. The models are really nice. You don't have to take them off the sprue. They're already assembled. You got to get them onto the bases. So what was in the box was really nice, and it was $50. That is, if you play miniatures games, that's a low barrier on cost entry. Yeah. So anyway, I played that, but then I had to pick up for another 18 on top of it. They had the MDF ring, the 3-dimensional ring that you can build and paint.
Is that what
that's what it is.
Okay.
So I can build the ring, put the ropes around it, and
that's awesome.
Yeah, just go nuts with it. So
that's killer.
Yeah, so I'm really excited. Rumble Slam, very cool. Yeah.
Woo! Brother. Well, speaking of brother, we got a big guy here, John German. John, what have you played this weekend that you want to talk about?
7 feet tall, and you can't teach that.
Oh, rest in peace, Big Cass. All right. Between the miniatures painting classes, because I'm terrible, I've been following a bunch. There's 3 RPGs that are coming out at this show that I'm really excited about. One I already got, and 2 I'm hunting down hopefully today. The first is Ulysses Spiele is doing the new Warhammer RPG, Wrath and Glory. That just came out. Got my copy. Pre-order. Spent way too much. Whatever. Next is Witcher RPG by R. Talsorian Games, and then Overlight by Renegade. You've seen the Overlight bags all over the place. Yeah. I know a little bit about the world and the art style, so I'm going to move back. The art style for that is unlike anything else I've ever seen. Bright colors, broad strokes. It's a world based on light and magic, so it's all about the color spectrum. How that ties into the magic system and the game system. I got their book on Free RPG Day, and I read through it, and there wasn't a single thing in it about rules. So I have no idea what kind of game it is. I don't know. I was like, okay, I know, I kind of get how the world works, but is it D6, D20, special weird fantasy flight dice? I don't know. Chicken bones. How do I play this game? So I'm gonna hunt them down at the show and figure out what the hell the system's even like, because maybe we'll just steal it for source material. And then you got the Witcher RPG, which has long been in the works, I think a couple years, from R. Talsorian. I think they're an Eastern European company. But that one's brand new, and I don't know a thing about it. I think it's D20 based. I actually can't recall it all. But I'm just really excited about how they take that IP and turn it into an interesting play style, because we all love Geralt, but there's so much room in that world for expansion and creating your own thing. Like they take classic myths and story, like Polish folklore, but also just general folklore, and tweak it in a really dark but interesting way. It's it feels grim and dark at times, but still kind of beautiful and real, and not overly absurd in any way. So I'm curious about this.
Dark. I think that might be copyrighted.
I said
right
grim.
there.
I put the and in the middle there because I know their lawyers are out there. They're gonna break in these windows
like a SWAT team.
That's copyrighted.
Start shooting the place out.
Quick question. So are you looking to pick these up? Are you the DM of your group? Are you going to be running these games, or do you have people that are wanting to DM for you?
We have a pretty steady 4-person group, 4 to 5-person group. Yeah, back home that we alternate. We have a main DM, but he likes a break, and he's good at certain things. I take over. We're system sluts, I believe. We don't care. We'll play it all except 4th edition D&D. We have no concerns. We've gone through 7 systems in 1 year between one-shots and changing campaigns and stuff. We try it all. We're out there finding the perfect system, and I basically tell them we're gonna have to make our own, guys. We're just gonna have to do it.
So of those 3, which one are you personally the most interested in?
Wrath and Glory is hands down my favorite, because Dark Heresy was the first game I GM'd, and I cobbled together a group of coworkers and friends who most had never played, and it was a 2-year year and a half campaign, just murder hobo as hell. Gave me complexes, ruined everything. I hate them. I made multiple beautiful worlds that they just crapped on. And so I'm mostly connected to that lore and that story and that universe. It goes from D100 to D6 pool, so it'll be tricky, but they're building a broad book that's not as focused on a specific type. You can do orcs, Eldar, humans, chaos, all this from one book. And they're going to expand it from there, different power levels and everything. So they're giving you a brush to paint your own world with, and letting you create almost anything. And they're going to expand it and make it even higher. So anything in the far future, you can be anything after one or two more expansions, maybe.
All right, thanks, John. That was really good. We've been wanting to get into RPGs for years, so we were talking to you and Roger earlier about what system we should start in, and you guys just said you guys aren't smart enough to play RPGs. So we're gonna move along to my cousin Bruce here, and we'll let him talk about a new game that just got announced. It's pretty interesting here. So go ahead, and Bruce, take it away here.
All right, so we demoed KeyForge, which is made by, I forget his name.
Fantasy Flight made by Richard Garfield.
Right, and he helped make Magic, or he make Magic, yeah. Right. Played way different than Magic. There was no, there's no mana pool. There's no, cost to play the cards. You just, throw down the cards. It was cool because it's, each deck is made completely different. The guy was saying that no deck would ever be the same. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. Each deck comes with 3 factions in each deck. I mean, it played a lot smoother than Magic. I think it's going to play a lot faster than Magic. And, it was just a good time. I really enjoyed that game. So
I got a question about it, Bruce. Yeah. So I'm always wondering when Fantasy Flight kind of steers away from its living card game model, which they've had some success with. This is not that. This is you buy a deck and it's completely independent, and there's really no deck building, from what I understand, which is like half the fun. It's like telling a miniatures painter you can't paint your miniatures. No. So my question is, can this game have any sort of staying power against, Magic or anything like that?
I mean, honestly, it's not going to compete with Magic. I mean, everybody knows that. But it's kind of like a sit down, play it real quick. You know what I mean? You don't have to, it's less competitive for sure, but I think it's more of just a casual game. Yeah, it's a very casual version of Magic.
If I may butt in, since I play a lot of all these card games, I can answer your question. It is not going to compete with Magic. All right, so how the game is, you'll just buy a deck, okay? And that deck is yours, and it's procedurally generated. So the computer has an algorithm. It'll say, this deck needs this many commons, this many uncommons, this many rares. It'll make the deck, and it'll generate a random name, and that name will be on there. No other deck will have that name. You literally have a unique deck that is yours, okay? Which is neat. It's also, I can see it being very, very generic. You know what I mean? They'll just generically put like WCAL, just random letters together, like some weird-ass name, But obviously, like, how are they going to know like what the meta is? You know what I mean? Like, there's obviously going to be some decks that are better. So they have a little QRS code on the back. Are they called QRS codes? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, you'll have when you'll scan it, and I guess you're going to let them know how your deck is performing against other decks of that nature. So you'll scan your deck, say, I beat this deck, and that's a way to keep track of the meta, which is, I think it's pretty neat. Like, you can scan your deck and say, I have this is what it looks like, this is how it's performing, things like that. It takes away all the deck building. So think of it as Hearthstone. You know what I mean? The art even looks like Hearthstone. It's very simple to play. Each of the decks will have 3 factions in it. So you'll say, during your turn, you'll say, I'm going to play this faction only. So you'll play from that particular faction. Whenever you put a card into play, it comes in tapped, so you can't use it. Then it'll move on to the next player. Then your card's at the end of the turn untapped, and so you can use them next turn. And so it has a lot of the same mechanics as Magic and all the games that you've played before, things like that. It's super simplistic. It's supposed to be a competitive out of the box. You buy it like if we went to a tournament, we'd all pay $10. We'd get the thing and play, and whoever wins, whatever. You know what I mean? But they're posturing it as you get the deck and you learn as you play. It's not about building deck and tinkering down to the finest minute meta. It's you getting your deck and learning how to play it as you get it. So it's more of a They're posturing it as like you're a thinker's card player as opposed to putting a deck together and competing, where you can't net deck. There's no net decking. You just get what you get and you play it as best to your ability. So
do they talk about how that business model is going to work? Because these games are kind of built like Magic is boosters, chapter packs for the different living card games, whereas it sounds like you have to buy a deck and just play that deck. So in order for it to be a sustainable model, it sounds like you have to have people buying multiple decks, but then how do you have them? That doesn't seem to. I don't follow how that's going to work.
So what they're doing is they have two things I saw so far. For $40, you're going to get 4 decks. You'll get 2 random decks, and then you'll get 2 starter decks that are pre-made. They're all the same as the from this model if you buy those. So yeah, whenever like say you'll buy multiple decks and you'll say. It's kind of like getting a booster pack, but it's a deck. So you're like, I like this deck the best. So you'll like, I'll enter this one into the tournament. And since it has a unique name on it, you can tell if people are cheating. You can't trade cards out because you can look at the back of the card and it has that unique name on it. There's no way of cheating and slipping cards in and out. So that's what you do. You'd buy multiple decks or $10 a piece. Say you buy 5, you put $50 into the game, play all 5 of them. Say I think this one is the best one. Then you could go to tournaments and register that deck to play.
Okay.
So it's pretty interesting. I think it's a really it's. I don't know if it's a good game, but I think it's unique. I think it's very out of the box to say we're gonna put a competitive game where you have no deck building out, and they're taking a risk on it. It may do well, it may not, but it's if it's anything, it's unique. All right, Matthew, does anybody have anything to add first? No. All right, Matthew, we'll go ahead and we'll see what Matt's got on the plate here.
And we've done a lot so far. We've been able to hit up some seminars, various live podcasts. We have something else coming up here very shortly. But I did get to demo a game. But between demoing, I've just been hovering around that Games Workshop booth, just foaming at the mouth for Age of Sigmar, the Dark Souls box set.
Buy it, man.
Well, it might happen because they got a lot of it in stock. All right, but I didn't demo it, so I'm not going to talk about that. I want to talk about a game that we got to that we were able to demo from Iello Games, and I'm sure I'll butcher the pronunciation on this one, but Nessos, and it's a mythological, like a Greek mythological card playing game, very casual, kind of like what Bruce was saying, like, it's kind of a casual-ish game, not super competitive, plays very quickly, and you're literally just trying to bluff people and not get bluffed in this game, and you'll always have 5 cards in your hand. They're numbered 1 through 9, I believe, and then you have like these curse cards. If you get 3 curses, you're out. If a certain number of curses are on the table, the game ends and the person with the highest number wins, or if someone can get 30 points, they win. It plays 3 to 6 players. It was very fun. It was very light, and it was a lot like I on my turn, all I'm going to do is play one of my cards from my hand. So say it's the number 8. If it's the number 8, I have to say this is an 8, and maybe I slide it over to John, and then John can decide, is it really an 8 or is he trying to give me a curse? And what he can do is flip it over. He can stack another card on top and say, well, this is a 4. And then he can slide that to Roger.
Say, here's an 8 and a 4. Yeah.
And then Roger can decide, do I want to take this or should I make John flip it? All right. If he says, I'll take it, flip it over. And if it was an 8 and a 4, you just scored 12 points. You're almost like halfway to victory in this game. It's very simple, and it's trying to read your opponent and trying to get as many points as possible. And there's some cool combinations, too. Like if you get 1, 2, 3 in a row, that'll get you 10 points. And you're really just trying to read your opponent and not get too many curses. It's very light. It was very fun. And it was pretty cheap. I think it was 10 or 15 bucks.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there. I like the games that Iello makes. They always put out really quality games. So this is one I would consider picking up. So I enjoyed that. Other than foaming at the mouth for Age of Sigmar, I've also been kind of foaming at the mouth to demo something at Portal Games. So probably get over to Portal at some time today or tomorrow and check out what Ignacy's doing over there because he's working the booth right now. Yeah. So we've had a lot of fun experiences. We've seen like everyone in the industry. Tom Vassell. We ran into Eric Lang. That was an amazing experience. I've seen the guys from Man vs. Meeple. It's been a lot of fun. The Game Boy Geek was there. It's just all these people are out and about. They're shopping. They're demoing games. Rodney Smith's been at the BGG booth all weekend. It's just been an amazing experience so far. So Gen Con 2018, I'm really enjoying myself, and even though we're only on to Friday and we have a lot more to go, I'm just really happy with the experience I've had, the events, all the demos that we've got to participate in. It's just been a huge success.
Real quickly, why don't you tell them about our hotel situation with John German, how he came through clutch?
Oh my gosh, so we have the most insane hotel I've ever had for Gen Con by far. We're at the Conrad, which is connected to the mall. We are in the presidential suite. We're in the executive suite. It's 3 times larger than a house that I lived in at one point. It is 8 times larger than many of the apartments I lived in. It's actually 2 rooms, and we got 3 couches, a full-size gaming table, a cot, a king-size bed, 2 bathrooms. I was walking in a robe today, sipping my coffee in my room. It's been fabulous. And usually we sleep like on floors, 8 deep, under tables, in the streets, wherever we can. And so I this is kind of spoiling me.
I feel like an adult.
We're kind of adulting.
We're getting there.
We're kind of adulting. We brought provisions. We brought foods and drinks. You know, it's been a very good experience.
It's been awesome. All right, well, we'll go ahead and we'll wrap it up here. So I definitely want to thank you three. We've wanted to have like you guys on for the longest of time, so I know this was a quick one. We got stuff to do, so we'll go ahead and we'll say our goodbyes. I'm Gary.
And I'm Matthew Wright.
I'm Roger.
I'm John German.
And I am Bruce.
And Bruce has the greatest calves I've ever seen in the world, and that's Fighting Dirty Unplugged Gen Con. We'll be back for more tomorrow. Thank you, boys.
Oh, fuck me.
Oh, God, John German killed himself.